Welcome to the Road to Rich podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Rich, and this is a podcast where we talk about all things business, life, entrepreneurship, and we got a couple of new entrepreneurs that we're going to talk to today, and I am excited because what they're doing is awesome stuff, man. And you know, to me, it's different and innovative for our area, something that we haven't, I think seen in our area before. But my guests are Chris Smith and Dan Nyman, and you guys have started Panhandle Weather, which is a 24/7 streaming weather channel. Mobile apps and soon website, I guess, is coming, all designed to give the Panhandle its own dedicated local first weather source, which is awesome, man. And, you guys both have a background in, being on the weather on news stations and all that. How did Panhandle Weather become a thing for y'all?
Part of it, I mean, I've been kind of dreaming about this since COVID, because, obviously in Florida, we didn't care about COVID too long. But for a couple months, they sent us to our homes to do news and weather. So I kind of went to my house and I was like, I want this to look like I'm in the studio. So I spent my own money and kind of bought some basic stuff to a green screen and lights and everything, and to make a studio in my bedroom. And it looked pretty good. I mean, it was $200 worth of expenses.
Pretty legit, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, it was proof of concept. And the thing that I really liked too was I saw my family.
Yeah.
Because when you're on the news, you're I worked, generally speaking, 2 to midnight.
Yeah.
Well, so I saw my kids for, 20 minutes in the morning, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it just kind of got to the point, I was like, something had to change in my life. I needed to be more present with my family.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I doing this? And I kept coming back to that time in COVID where I did weather in my bedroom.
It sounds like how I ended up at the podcast studio.
Exactly. So that just kind of led me down the path of doing this.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
There's a few people around the country that are doing this that we're able to kind of talk to and everything.
Yeah.
And then having Dan come into my life, and the skills that he brings, it was just kind of do you want to do this? And here we are. We have started our own channel and it works.
No, that's awesome. And I know that I've heard you talk before about, your family, and when you made the decision to make that change, that was something that I think in a video I watched, you talked about. How important was that, you're able to recapture that time in your life?
Well, as soon as I'm able to, I will. I mean, at the very least, I have dinner with my family every night, but I am working right now a lot, but I see a pathway to, once we get settled, everything working, we get sales under control, that I will have more of that time. But, I definitely am already I can see my family in the evenings. My daughter comes in and gives me a kiss before she goes to bed. Either myself or Dan's a little bit better at math than I am, but he literally helps my son do his math homework sometimes if he has
awesome.
math
Seems
questions.
Tutor in there somewhere too. That's
I got to
awesome.
start asking for money.
We're going to talk about you in a little bit because there's some stuff I want to ask you about too. But we'll come
he's
to that
way more fascinating than I am.
No, I've read your bio, man. There's definitely some things we're going to talk about in a little bit. So, but I think in business, I think one of the things, and I've talked to a lot of different business owners, and it's funny that the evolution that we go through in business, when you start off, it's okay, you want to be able to make money and control that and do these things. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, that family part is something we recognize down the road, to where it's oh my gosh, I can get my time back. But you went into it with that as a priority. And I appreciate that, because I think that takes entrepreneurs a while to kind of get to that point where it's I can get my freedom back.
Yeah, I didn't have any desire necessarily. I never thought I would own my own business. I had been pretty content in life, just working for somebody, working for the man, working for somebody else. But, it just got to the point that you're looking at I haven't had a raise in a long time, or I don't see my family. And then also too, I started to become concerned with broadcasting, is this going to get me to retirement?
Yeah.
And those were questions that I was having, as far as do I keep doing what I'm doing? Is it worth doing what I'm doing? And I really just reached the point that I was no. And so, I was either going to become a realtor. I got my real estate license because I'm like, why not? At least have some name recognition. Hopefully that would have helped me with that. But I kept coming back to the weather. I mean, it's what I've been doing for 30 years.
That's what you do.
I love it. I knew in third grade I wanted to be a meteorologist. So it just, everything came together. The desire, Dan and his skill set all came together to...
And his tutoring ability.
And his tutoring ability
for sure.
for free.
For now.
Once we're making money, we can revisit this. But that we'll be able to turn this into like a real business, and it exists right now. Now the next priority is we gotta start selling.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to ask about that. With you going from what you did before to now, you're starting a business. You're building apps and you're building the website and trying to sell and doing the weather and all that. What's it been like for you to try to launch all that at one time?
Like, overwhelming is the only good word.
Yeah.
Because there's so many moving pieces.
Yeah.
When you work for somebody, like, you have a routine. You come in and it's like, I have to do this by 3, I have to do this by 5, and I have deadlines on these 3 projects. And it's like, oh, you just go ahead and do it. Now you have to be completely disciplined on your own, self-motivated, and like juggle 92 tasks. And like, we're trying to do a lot right now with just the 2 of us.
Yeah, it's a lot. It really is. And nobody teaches you some of those things too.
Yeah.
You got to figure them out. So,
and accepting that things aren't going to be perfect. Like we kind of thought that on October 1st, that was our launch day, that the app would be there, the website would be there, everything would be there, like working flawlessly. Well, we launched on the 1st, and we had the channel on YouTube, but we don't have the smart TV apps yet. And then the phone app came out about a week and a half after we launched, and the website came out about 3-4 days after that. So it was like you kind of want this big unveil, but we kind of just had to be like, you know what, it's just not going to happen that way, and
you got to find ways to push forward.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so we're getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll get it all figured out, and I'm excited to see where what y'all are doing with it and where it's going to go.
I think it's the future.
Yep.
You talk about like my it's so funny because like, what do all the kids say they want to be? YouTubers. And like, I made fun of it to a certain extent. Like,
now you are.
Now I literally am a YouTuber, but like it's the proof that anyone can broadcast, and everything is changing so quickly that, you used to think like, I need a TV station or I need a radio station to broadcast.
You just need a camera. Yeah.
You don't need a whole lot of money, and you need a phone at the very basics, like to be a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And so, we have a few more pieces of equipment than that, but like, I think like what most people would think is a lot of like, I don't know. It's not as much money as you think to pull off what we're doing. No,
it just takes knowledge and a little bit of resources, and then sticking to it and consistency with growing it that way.
Yeah. And there's like some things are like super expensive. Like, there's no way around the weather graphics, the cameras. But then there's other things that like, is like freeware. And it's an integral part of like what we're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, there's been stuff that I put in the studio that I was like, oh, I have this, like, I took it off an Xbox.
Yeah.
And that is now like something that would cost thousands of dollars.
Integral piece of equipment.
The most important part at this point.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's a $60 like Xbox card.
Yeah.
So
it works.
But
are you the tech guy?
Definitely.
Yeah. Nice.
So like this is the way I best describe it. I'm probably in like the top 95% of like tech type stuff. Yeah. Dan is in the 99th percentile.
Awesome. Gotta have good tech.
And pulling this off takes about 99%.
Yeah.
Like it's not for the faint of heart to be able to do it. Could I do it? Maybe. It would have taken a whole lot longer. And so that's what works well with like the 2 of us, is that we bring different skill sets.
No, that's awesome. That's key to a great partnership.
Yeah.
Right?
And so like right now you're seeing me on the channel a whole lot more than you're seeing him. And part of that is, by design, because people just recognize me more, but also too, like Dan's like really busy, like formulating the website and the app, like doing all that tech stuff in the background while I'm handling, the weather stuff and social media.
Well, you're a YouTube personality now.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and is it Mr. Beast?
Yeah. It's funny because my kids' friends get so impressed that like my like TikTok following is well beyond any of like theirs and their friends and all that. And it shocks them that an old man like me has a significant TikTok following. So.
We might have to talk about that because like that's been one of the other things is like we do have a TikTok account right now, but like also too like how like we have Facebook and that's generally one way, and then Instagram and TikTok. All these different apps kind of require different types of media.
Yep.
And we haven't gotten to the point yet of like feeding those efficiently with what they would prefer.
Yeah,
so like
sure.
we're uploading 16:9 videos to TikTok, which is not going to perform very well. So we know that, but like that's going to be a process for us to be able to get there to kind of optimize everything, and maybe it takes employees to help us do that.
You guys will get that down to a science. A lot of it is figuring out a routine and knowing all the different things, but you can't know that from day one. That's the big thing in business is you're going to learn, and I mean, hell, you're going to make mistakes every day, and you just try and not replicate those mistakes and learn from them and get better and better and better. So the Savannah Bananas, you follow them at all?
Yes.
Their owner talks about that quite a bit, how many, many, many times they've failed and some of the stupid mistakes they've made, but it's all part of building it to something better. And, what you guys are doing, it's pretty interesting to me because I'm used to traditional TV. And one of the things I want to ask you was, how is what you're doing differ from traditional TV weather broadcasting? Can you describe that to the audience a little bit?
Well, I feel like we're super nimble now because we're not appointment viewing anymore. Like, you used to have, like, I remember growing up in New Jersey, and it would be like you'd come home from school and it's time for the 5 o'clock news, and mom's cooking dinner and the family's already at the table, and that was how life worked. But now we're always moving around more and we're buried in our phones. So kind of the first half of what we're doing is trying to put the weather back in front of people because television's naturally fallen out of your daily routine a little bit more. And then the other thing is, by not having a scheduled 5, 6, and 10 and all the other shows that they've added now, that we need to create like scheduled content for, we can adapt really quickly as the weather changes. Let's just do an update. It's 2:30 in the afternoon and we'll push that out. And then 5 o'clock, maybe you have some sea breeze thunderstorms. Let's do another update. And you'll be able to see us talking about what's happening in real time. Whereas
versus waiting on a delay.
You used to have to wait till 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock to see that.
Makes all the sense in the world to me.
And when you have those traditional time frames, that can get in the way of you being able to do other stuff, because it's like, oh, I got to prepare for this, which actually is preventing me from doing something that I would rather do or I feel needs to be done right now, but I can't do this and still get ready for this. So by not necessarily having, and we have plans to do like some scheduled stuff, but by not having that, we hit a button and we are live on YouTube, Facebook,
in the apps,
on TV. And that's the thing too, is like, the way we're operating is that if you open up our app, you can see the video stream. It's right at the top. You don't even have to click a link. It just automatically starts. If you go to the YouTube page, you see the same exact thing. If you go to the website, at the top of the website, there it is. So you're getting the same product essentially in all of these locations, which I think is important because you're not having to hunt and peck around for what are you looking for.
It's all right there.
Because streaming is, we control everything that we do and we own all of that. But like when you talk about traditional media, they don't own everything. Like you don't get to just stream NFL football. You don't have the rights to that. You have the broadcast rights, but not the digital rights. So like you can't watch that stream and then that leads into, oh, we're going to do a weather cut-in, like because there's no programming during that time frame. So there's like a lot of challenges that traditional media have to overcome that we don't, because we have one product.
That's awesome.
and it's the weather. And, we wanted to also separate weather from news. News is so divisive anymore. And, whether you want red flavored or blue flavored or purple flavored or whatever, you go to wherever you want to go to get
just
that.
weather.
Weather is just weather. We're a political free zone. And I think there's enough people that are just kind of tired of all the noise
I'm
that
sure you're right. Yeah.
Let's just talk about the weather.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our business model is.
That's nice. Do you think that the responsiveness that you're able to provide now is the biggest goal that you guys had in starting Panhandle Weather?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think so. We're always there. We have one product that we're selling. It's the weather. And I think it's going to be a lot easier for us moving forward to continue to provide that and find new ways. Like we know that, we live, most of us, a lot of us live at the beach or have, go fishing or go to the beach, or maybe they have a boat and want to go boating, so we have like a lot of plans for things to be responsive to those people and provide better information. Farmers. Like you think like, well, I mean, I'm not a farmer, I don't think you're a farmer, but like we have a huge audience up in like Jackson County, Holmes County, Calhoun County that are farmers. Well, at the TV station, you don't have time to talk about agriculture.
Yeah, you're very limited in what
you have 3 minutes, 2.5 to 3 minutes for your main weather. So it had to be something huge if you're ever getting into agriculture. So, but now it's a part of our channel and our website that we're providing that information. And I know we can provide more and better information, especially when it comes to like marine and boating and stuff like that. But we have plans to get there. But like,
I love how customizable your approach is, so that you can reach those different audiences in different ways that way.
Yeah, they all add up.
Yeah.
Over time. And if you talk about something that people care about, in a way, you care about them, or they at least feel like you care about them, which is true, because we want to try and provide as much to as many people.
Yeah.
Because I have 24 hours.
Well, and the beauty of that too is that by doing that, you can now create sponsorship opportunities for you guys that are tailored to those specific audiences. So if it's a farmer and you have a farm supply store that's the sponsor of that segment, it does offer you guys from a business standpoint so many different variables and opportunities. That's pretty cool.
We have what?
Ferris Tractor, our first
there you go
kind of first sale, thanks to Chris. Good work
Awesome.
there, and it fits in perfectly with agriculture. And now we kind of have the formula, because obviously we have no idea what we're doing.
That's target rich for that advertiser's audience that way. If it's farmer oriented, it's perfect that way. So that's really cool that you guys are doing it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a whole lot more we can do. Like, and I think sales is going to be our like biggest struggle, not from the standpoint of interest, but just that neither one of us has ever traditionally sold anything. In a way, I've been selling myself to people for 30 years, watch me instead of the other guy at the other station. But it's also different. And, as we went through this process, we have a ton of people that have reached out that I still have to get back to, and I have to go back out and do sales, because most people recognize me because I've been here for, seems like forever. But that's just, it's going to take time for us to be able to kind of do that and learn that. But that's probably like the biggest struggle. And we probably need to find like a salesperson to help us.
Well, you got limited time too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, exactly. Because like my wife and I are funding the operation right now. But it's like, I think Dan probably worries about it more than I do. Like, I know it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt in my mind. And especially when you look at like, what is our overhead? And I think it's going to be successful. It's just a matter of getting everything settled. So we're relatively happy with it. And then being able to then reach out to all, I mean, I have a spreadsheet of over 50 people that have reached out for advertising that we haven't even hardly touched.
Yeah.
So the
That's
demand
great
that tells
start.
me that the demand is there. It's just, I got to get with those people and come up with something that, fits them. And the beauty of this is we got 24 hours a day to sell. So like, my advertising can be as cheap as $100 a month. which is like compared to like broadcast, you're talking
super cheap comparatively.
Hundreds of dollars for a 30-second spot, So it's much more affordable. Like I had a girl at the gym that owns a swim school up in Lynn Haven, and she wants to advertise. Like to me, that's really cool. Like, because someone like that never in a million years could, afford to align themselves with weather
to do
on a broadcast, network. And so that makes me happy that, we're going to be able to bring in a lot more people at a rate that they can afford.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have to keep that in mind for advertisers on our side too. So
yes.
There you go.
Amen. We'll talk about that off camera.
Talking to the right guy. So, as far as, people's responsiveness to it so far, how's the feedback been?
I mean, really good.
It's been unbelievably positive, I would say. And, they love Chris, which really helps, because I think as we've made our mistakes early on, you can get away with those. Hopefully we're not making those soon. I'm a perfectionist, so it's unhealthy, but like within a month, I'd love to just say like, this is our product. It's perfect. And everybody loves it. And I think we'll get there eventually, but already people have shown us so much grace and engagement. Our watch time on the channel, like the amount of time somebody stops by and visits just to see the weather, they're on the go. That's the idea. And they're sticking around for 13 or 14 minutes at a time.
That's awesome.
Multiple times a day. It's far beyond what I ever expected.
That's incredible.
And I feel like, we have some opportunities that, it will be a little bit of white noise in the background as you're making dinner and you have the channel up, and, we have, we partnered with Beach TV. Right now we're using some of their cameras, and we're going to add some of our cameras into the mix as well. And there's certain parts of the channel that are just music and cameras. And I think that's kind of peaceful, and, so I think we want to kind of have people coming back to us, but not necessarily feel like they have the intensity of maybe like a newscast, that it's a little bit more of a casual conversation, and then just kind of peaceful times. Kind of like people are using that Okaloosa County pier with have the camera under the pier there.
Yeah, where it's just just a casual shot that way. Yeah.
Like my wife's school, she's in with special needs children, and like they literally leave that thing up on like the TV all the time because it's calming.
And it's like you mentioned earlier, you really can't do that with traditional news because there's things that, there's certain things I don't like my kids to hear about.
100%.
Some of the stuff on the news, but when it's weather, it's pretty clean, and I can just leave that up. So
and we know too though that like, when it doesn't rain like all October, like this is our driest month of the year, and we haven't had any tropical activity hardly, knock on wood. But like, we know that like our viewers are going to be with us, like, especially when there's active weather. Yeah. So like the response that we're getting right now when nothing is going on and the weather's the same every day, is also, gives me confidence that we're going to do well, because we haven't even gotten to our first severe weather event or
it's been pretty quiet.
Our first hurricane where, the apps are going to be downloading. And I mean, already we're, in the thousands of people that have downloaded the app already. And it was, released within just a few days ago.
Yeah. Very cool. Can you do me a favor for my audience? Can you explain what the % chance of rain means for an area? Because I completely, in my whole life, misunderstood this up until a year or two ago. Would you mind explaining how that works?
So the general thinking is you're at your house, and if, let's say, the rain chance is 20%, that means if you duplicated that day 100 times, you would see 1/100th of an inch. So measurable precipitation, which is like just like a little bit, on 20 of those days. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with coverage, and certainly doesn't have to do with amount of rainfall. It's just simply that at your house or your school or wherever you happen to be, that, the weather today, if we carbon, copied it 100 times, it would rain that many times, like 20%, 20.
I think there tends to be some extra confusion too, because people do it differently based on, like, if you're looking at the National Weather Service or if you're looking at like a TV station, because we do point forecasts for specific locations. And then if you were to look at like a National Weather
versus
Service
area
forecast.
forecast.
When
Yeah.
they forecast area, now it's a math equation basically with confidence and coverage factored in.
Yeah.
So, like, you could end up with a 40% chance of rain with 100% confidence, and the rain chance is 40%.
Yes.
But for those 40% of the area they're forecasting
Yeah.
for, they're
So
like,
60%
we
is
got
not going to see
slammed with a
rain.
ton of rain.
Yeah.
And 60% could go the same way because you could have low confidence but high coverage. It gets messy. So we're sticking with points.
Yeah. So,
One
I mean,
part.
and I think that goes to show that there's like a real problem with messaging,
Yeah.
you know, about that. And like, we'll talk about that with like storm surge. You know, the way they do storm surge is like they have a number that's like a 10%, there's a 10% chance that that number is going to be exceeded.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that gives you kind of a worst case scenario, but people like to live in like more of a realistic scenario,
Yeah, for sure.
you know? And so I think, you know, that's where we kind of come into it with the way we explain things. And so that's, you know, the way I've always, the way when I talk about the weather, I like to describe the weather. I like to describe the coverage of rainfall. Not everybody's going to see the rainfall. I don't like to necessarily get bogged down too much in specific numbers. I think you have to paint a picture of what the weather is going to be.
Right.
And people can remember that more so than, you know, because like in the end, it's either 0% or 100%.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Do you think with what you're doing that you have a better chance of educating viewers on weather and what that stuff means and how it works? I mean, because you're so limited in what you had time-wise before, do you think that's an opportunity for you guys to really grow other weather nerds in our area, right? Like you know, is that something on your plate?
It is definitely on our radar, and we have sponsorship opportunities for something like that to, you know, like a weather education segment, weather, you know, and like the cool thing about weather is like, even though we're meteorologists, and meteorologists, the reason why it's called meteorology has nothing to do with rocks. It's because meteorology is the study of hydrometeors. Hydrometeors being rain. Okay. So, but we're also at like the TV station. We're the only scientists at the TV station.
Yeah.
We're very different than news people.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I learned to appreciate news and understand what they did, but I had zero. There wasn't like, oh, will I do weather or will I do news? Like there's no way I would have lasted in news.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've always been tasked with having to understand about earthquakes and geology and space, you know, so I'm happy to delve into all of those areas and help educate. Now, my expertise obviously is weather, but you know, I went to space camp as a kid. I took astronomy in college. Like, so I know more than the average person. Yeah. But if not, you know what? We'll go get the Bay astronomy.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, we have time. Why not bring an expert in to talk on behalf of Panhandle Weather?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just something else that we can put on YouTube and put in the apps and the channel that people enjoy. But for us, too, it's like more content, something we can put out there, which is always going to be the biggest challenge, I think, as we really get the wheels in motion on this. Is like, how do we create more content that's interesting?
Yeah.
With a limited amount of time.
Like rocket launches.
Yeah.
Like both, we like space. We like, who doesn't like rockets?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, we have plans to like simulcast some of like the rocket launches from the Cape and stuff
that's
like
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just interesting, cool stuff. I mean, we had somebody, you were able to see, they did the SpaceX, the Starship. They had a test flight the other day, and like one of my friends sent me a video. You could actually you faintly see it passing across the horizon.
I think I saw the same thing.
That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that is pretty
Was
cool
that
stuff.
6:30 on what? I don't even know. Today's Wednesday, Monday. Had to be Monday. 6:30 on Monday.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, in today's world, there's so much content that's AI driven and all that. Why do you think that the human element of human driven weather coverage is so important still?
I think because people want someone and something they can trust. Now, we talk about AI all the time because like we've been using it a lot.
It's getting scarily good. At mainly at like non-sciencey stuff,
Yeah.
or at the very least, if you're going to use it for specific science topics, you have to really work hard to fact check it. But as far as like AI replicating people now, it's getting better, and AI can start to just assimilate so much data in a short period of time. Like there will be a point where, you know, we have apps that are weather apps that are completely AI. In fact, even the Google AI model for hurricane season, they released a report yesterday, and it performed better for track and intensity forecasts than the National Hurricane Center. So for us, it sets up kind of an interesting dilemma where maybe we have to evolve as meteorologists and become less about the forecasting and more about the explanation and the nuance of it, so that people understand.
And maybe that's where the credibility and the personality of it comes in, and that you're taking that data and you're creating a level of trust, like you alluded to, and neighbor versus neighbor, like that connection to where they can trust what you're saying in your analysis of it.
And a lot of this really isn't that hard, in that people just want to know, like when there's severe weather at night, they just want to know, can they go to bed? You know, and a lot of what we do is very simple. You know, we've really started leaning into people that don't live here that want to know about their beach vacation. Because if you go to your iPhone app, in the summertime in particular, every single day, thunderstorm, 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 thunderstorm. So if you're like a mom in Birmingham, because moms do everything, you know, they plan trips, they do the whole night. This is, you know, they tell their husbands, this is where we're going to Panama City Beach for vacation on this week in July. You know, I booked it. Well, mom is freaking out because she goes to her app and she sees thunderstorms every single day. Yeah. You know, because that's what it shows you. But like, that's
but they're all 5 minutes.
Yes, exactly. There's still plenty of sunshine, but they don't know that. Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity. People just want to know, like, so if you go into like these Facebook groups or whatever, I love Panama City Beach. There's 400,000 people in that group. Yeah. So we have talked to, they have like, I'm worried about the weather. And then like, we can jump in there and be like, oh no, everything's fine. And I think that's a way to help get our brand out too, that people know in Birmingham, Nashville, Atlanta, that we're your source of information, like realistic information, because it's the picture that we're painting. Yeah. Is there a chance of thunderstorms every single day? Yeah, probably. Yeah. But like, is it going to impact your vacation that you need to be thinking about, like, oh, maybe we should cancel it? Yeah. Or, you know, maybe, you know, well, no, you know, and you can now focus on booking all your excursions and stuff like that. Or, you know, you have so many Facebook pages now of people that are, all they do is, you know, because you get clicks. I mean, my Facebook page is monetized. I get paid for clicks, you know? And so I'm, you know, I can't say that I don't, but there's a lot of people out there that do. And you know what gets a lot of clicks? When you say there could be a hurricane in 2 weeks. You know what doesn't get clicks? When you say it's probably not going to happen. But like, I want to live in a world where I have more trust, even though like you have all these people out there that are saying that, and that affects, you know, tourism as well. Plus it just affects the psyche of everyone that went through Hurricane Michael. You know,
yeah, we're not ready for any of that.
Let's live in, you know, I want to live in a world of reality, and that doesn't mean that a storm isn't going to hit us or that a storm isn't possible in 2 weeks. But you know, it's the chances of that happening are always very slim, and we've seen it a ton already this year. And guess what? We haven't seen any storms yet. That doesn't mean we won't still see one, but you know, there's a lot of noise out there. Yeah. And the headlines are always going to be the ones that are crying wolf.
Yeah, that's the social algorithm that plays that.
Yes.
And as someone who does what you guys do, you kind of have to understand it and choose when to utilize that for the right purposes that way. But it's been a beautifully quiet hurricane season so far. So, yes, thank you for that. So, do you guys, looking forward, how do you guys see technology changing what you do?
It's kind of hard to see the forest like through the trees right now, but there's so many things that we could take advantage of as they get cheaper, which has been the beauty of this even being possible. Yeah. Is like, you know, 10 years ago, all of the stuff that we have would have had an extra zero at the end of it. Yeah. So I think at some point, like, we could start having access to more stuff to go out into the field and be doing weather out there. You know, we're already at the point now where you could put a dash cam in a car and now you have live scene footage during weather. And it's completely hands-free and totally safe and legal for you to drive, and I could pull the feed in from that. So I think we have to like really be on our toes, and that's probably going to be something
That's why you got a
I'm
good tech
tasked
guy.
with.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and like with the software that we're using, all we have to do is I can text you a link, and then you click that link, and you're live in our program.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just literally that
Yeah,
simple.
just that. Yeah, it is pretty awesome what we're able to do nowadays with pulling people into it.
And that's going to be part of it. Like, so with like in our software, Facebook and YouTube right now are the two that like if, you know, because you can't stream to Facebook all the time. So we're not there we post, but you can't watch video. But during severe weather, we can be there, you know, as far as streaming, because it's what, 3 or 4 hours is your max. So, so anyway, we'll have our stream up, and people will be able to see that. And in the comments, you know, let's say, you know, can I go to bed? What about Callaway? What about, you know, Springfield, whatever. And we'll be able to literally pull their comments in and answer their questions, like where you'll see their profile picture and their question there on the screen. And I think that will create a connection with the people that like they can literally get their questions answered, you know. And I told Dan, like, if all I have to do is tell people when to go to bed or answer people's questions or make someone feel better about whatever's going on, if that's all I have to do, I will do that all day long.
That's awesome.
You know, even if it seems repetitive, and you know, because like we joke all the time, like you'll see like, well, what about Springfield? And like the next person's like, well, what about Callaway? It's like, well, they are kind of like right there
Same area
together. Yeah. But you know, if that's all I have to then
you're giving them peace of mind.
Yes,
you know?
100%.
And you know, when they got little kids or whatever in the house and they want to be safe, I mean, that matters. And so that's nice that you have that capability where you really didn't before, to have that level of interaction. So that is a great personal touch that you guys get to do with what you're doing.
Yeah. So if you're like making dinner or whatever, and you happen to be watching us because there's storms coming in, you have us on the TV, and then like there's a tornado warning for where you are. Like all you have to do is grab your phone, and that's like the kind of synergy of what we're doing is like grab your phone, open up the app, and it's the same thing that you were watching on your TV, but now you can do it in your hallway bathroom or your closet or your safe place. And not have to be like, oh, where did they go? What are, you know?
And you've been through so many of those moments in your career. Has there been a specific moment in the course of your career, Chris, where it really shaped you as a meteorologist?
Oh, I mean, it begins and ends with Hurricane Michael. You know, I mean, that's something that, I mean, heck, you still struggle with it now. Like just as far as like the anxiety and the guilt and like, you know, like, I mean, cause I live out in Walton County. So like I had dirty porches. I had power back by Friday. I had internet back within like, I don't know, under 2 weeks. Like, so I wasn't impacted for the most part. Yeah. My family was fine. But then you had like friends and coworkers whose lives were turned upside down and their homes were destroyed. And, you know, that's a lot to deal with.
And you're seeing both things there. Like, I remember we ended up renting a place over there for a week or two over in Walton County because we weren't accessible here. But, you know, being able to drive over in the day and see what was going on here and work over here and then drive back there at night for a week or so while we were doing it was weird to me how different their world they were living in was versus the anarchy that we had over here during that time. It was crazy.
Yeah, that Monday after the storm, I went to a parent-teacher conference because it was like it was a teacher work day. Yeah. And Tuesday, my kids were back in school. So in under a week, my kids were back in school. Wow. But, you know, the guy at the other station lived in Bay County and didn't know when his kids were going back to school again, you know, and how do you navigate that? Like childcare and you got to work and stuff. And so I feel, well, very lucky. I didn't have any damage, but also too, I was able to kind of bury myself in the coverage after the storm because I didn't have to deal with, you know, insurance companies and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Hurricane Michael, and you can't be prepared for that. You know, there's a part of you that like, when I went to FSU, my first day of school was like the landfall of Hurricane Andrew, you know, and it's, you had, Brian Norcross was like the hero of Hurricane Andrew because his TV station stayed on the air throughout and everyone loved Brian Norcross. And I was like, I want my Brian Norcross moment. And then like you go through your whole career. I started in 96. So what, that's 22 years to Michael, 23 years. And like it comes and like it makes you sick because when you're, 18, you live in this myopic world. It's about me. And like, you don't have like, oh, like those are real people whose homes are going to be flooded and destroyed. And those are friends. And it's like the whole dynamic, like,
I don't think you think about those kind of feelings when you're thinking about getting your moment in that, and, that's the duality of that moment is it's, on one level you're like, okay, well, this is, like this is what I trained for and this is what I'm here for. Yeah. But at the same time, it makes you sick.
Yeah. And you can't like, there's so many surreal moments from the hurricane and after the hurricane that you have to like kind of grapple with. And like, did you say everything correct, or like, I mean, like the morning of landfall and I took a quick nap in one of the rooms at the station and like they wake me up with like, I guess it's the 4 o'clock advisory and like it had upgraded to a 4. Mm-hmm. And like they're asking at that point, like, are we safe here at the station? And like making choices like that about people's lives and safety, or 22-year-old kids going out to cover the storm and making sure that they're in a safe place, that they're not going to get hurt because they don't know anything about weather. And, they're scared too, know, and you saw it like after the fact, especially the younger kids really struggled with like kind of what they went through. Cause
for sure. It's a lot.
And, I was in the relative confines of a safe studio, and they were over in, Gulf County and like going to the EOC, like looking for shelter and stuff like that. So,
well, I certainly appreciate all your work through that time. That was, gosh, it doesn't feel like a long time ago, but it was 7 years ago now. I mean, it's just crazy to think about.
Now, the one thing to remember talking about hurricanes is that the return period of a major hurricane for Panama City within 50 miles is once every 30 years. Yeah. So just remember that, like, whenever you see, like, the scary stuff on social media.
Yeah, that's the likelihood. Yeah.
Once every 30 years. That doesn't mean we won't see one this year or next year, but again.
It's just mathematical
probability. Another Michael is not likely.
Yep. Well, glad to hear that.
Thankfully.
So,
yeah.
Dan, I got a question for you, man. So I did a little digging in your bio, and you have a background in motorsports, sim racing stuff. Man, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I'm interested in how this approaches your life and in what you do with weather and storytelling. I was pretty fascinated by the esports. You're like literally a champion in esports.
As of earlier this year, I was like 5 consecutive North American championships for online racing.
That's awesome.
Like that was the one thing that I had, even like no matter how bad life sucks, it's like, well, I'm the best at this thing right now.
We don't have any money, but
I was super, super lucky to even get into that. And like, it's like anything in life, being in the right place at the right time. My parents, especially my dad, loves racing cars. Yeah. So I was like 8 years old and they were like stuffing me on dirt bikes and in go-karts and saying like, go fast, buddy. We don't care.
And what you do is you basically have an immersive setup where you're racing against other people, right?
Yeah. It's close now to the real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, because I grew up doing it, there are things like, the seat of your pants feeling that you'll never get. Mm-hmm. But as far as like the way that your eyes and your hands connect to one another and you enter this flow state where like your brain turns off and you're just relying on muscle memory. And I love it too for that reason. Like nothing's happening in my head when I'm racing.
Yeah, you're just living in the moment.
Doesn't matter how stressful we are right now. It's like you're so focused on doing that one thing that your brain doesn't work.
It's like you forget about yourself and you're just literally living that moment in time.
Yeah. So that's my drug of choice. And that's incredible. That's what pushes me to keep doing it.
What probability would you give if Chris and I raced you at Mario Kart? Would we stand any chance at all?
On Mario Kart, I'd probably give you 40%.
Really?
It would be close.
Hey, that's better than I thought, Chris.
I know. As you get closer to the simulations, I mean, like,
what's shifting?
Yeah. On the real simulation games, I feel like hands, fingers and toes. I could count those, and
Yeah.
that's the amount of people I'd give a chance right now.
Well,
Like,
and
in
plus
the
we
world.
could team up on him in Mario Kart too, and I could like
we could,
throw
like-
the turtle shell at him and stuff.
Yeah, there weren't any blue shells in the
bomb.
World Championship.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We might have to go to Dave and Buster's and hit that up. So, yeah. No, I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
So,
I've raced all over the world at this point. Although I'm kind of on a hiatus right now because my main income's more important.
well, you got a lot on your plate.
But there were championships in London several times. I raced at the 24 Hours of Le Mans the day before, like a 24-hour long sim race, and then they were like,
awesome.
"While you're here, you can stay for the race." That was
yeah.
amazing. Mexico City, all up and down the United States, both sides. Like it was, I started doing it when I was 16, and I feel like one of the reasons that I've been kind of prepared to be an adult was because I became so well traveled at a young age. Like
Yeah, I bet.
I wasn't sheltered anymore, which I was up until 16. But then like you saw life from, the worst parts of Mexico City to like the fanciest place you can find in like Barcelona.
Yeah.
And when you start to see that balance of life through something like video games, which is crazy in itself, I feel like your perspective advances.
That
like,
really does, man.
10
I've
years.
traveled the world for fishing excursions and stuff, and I've told people all the time that seeing the world has changed my perspective on what my life here is like in a very good way, man. Like I'm so appreciative of things that we have and the lifestyle and just like the things that you take for granted that you just don't understand unless you travel the world and see it and meet people around the world and understand how they live. Boy, it's a life changer.
I mean,
Sure.
I came out of college paycheck to paycheck. Like 60% of my paycheck was straight to rent, and then the next 20% was electric, feeding myself, and water.
Yeah.
But it was like the lights are on. I'm fed. I have a job. Like life's good.
Well,
but if I didn't have those experiences, I think I would have been a lot harder on myself.
Yeah. Well, the beauty of entrepreneurship is that the harder you work, you get to see those benefits, right? So what you guys are doing, the hard work that you put into it, you see a absolute direct result from it. And that's the beauty of owning your own business.
A couple of things that we do is we try and go watch the suns, because like we're literally in my garage and we're inside for a long time, but we go watch the sunset every night. We try to. That's the one thing. And then we always talk about what was our win for the day. So even if it's a crappy day, there's still wins. Yeah, and so we try and focus on those positive things to carry us forward.
It's amazing because we work from like 9 a.m. till about 11 right now. And it'll be like 10:30 and we're winding down. The last of the weather's done. At like 10:30 every night, our stream will switch over from not having us on it to just music and graphics. And then we'll kind of like sit down and be like, well, that was our win for the day. Yeah. And it's so minuscule, but it does keep you pushing towards the goal.
Keeps you going. So what are you guys most proud of so far?
Oh man, if you see like what we have in the studio at this point from where it sat 3 weeks ago, it is unbelievable. Yeah. Because we were a week before our launch date sitting at like picnic tables with a chair that your son found in the trash up the road that we were sitting in to work at.
That's the main weather center chair. The other's like a Yeti camping chair.
Imagine what you're going to be 5 years from now.
I mean, already now, like you could just open the garage door and walk inside and you're just impressed that it's even possible and that we put it all together in like the final hour. And, the sun rose the next day and we were live doing the weather.
That's like there's so many funny things though when you're doing it at like the house, like the kids. And like Dan doesn't have kids, and you may not want them anymore. But it's so funny because I didn't want kids either, and then like now I'm like kind of doing this because it's like I want to be at least more involved with my kids. But it's so funny. My wife comes home, she has both the kids in the car, and then you hear the garage. We're in there working. Garage door opens. My daughter comes in and she loves Dan. I'm Mr. Dan. Mr. Dan. Are you working?
We need to get you an on-air sign for outside of the garage.
Sometimes my wife will text me and like, can we come in? I'm like, well, unless there's severe weather, we can always just like start over. Or you know what? Yeah. The imperfection sometimes is the perfection. So like, if that's what comes to air, it's the reality of what we're doing. And I think it's really cool to like to think that we're in half of my garage, that we have created a green screen, a touch screen, and a whole studio and that we're doing this in 2025 and it's possible and it's
Absolutely.
working.
What's something the public doesn't realize about weather broadcasting that is kind of a behind the scenes thing that you think they should know?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, obviously, I think people know about like the green screen.
Yeah.
I think most know that we don't use a teleprompter, that it's all ad lib. But you know, we build all of the graphics. You know, we build.
That's what gets my parents every time they visit is like, so that thing you're standing in front of, like you had to make that 5 minutes ago? And it's like, yeah.
Yep.
Every single one, from like the current temperatures to 7-day forecast. It's just part of the work.
You know, and there's so much of that like, I mean, we have some templates of things, but like we call it the L bar, which is like the programming is squeezed back. And then around that, we have different forecast information and stuff like that. And Dan built all of that from scratch.
That's awesome.
Like he didn't there was no template. We didn't go to, you know, some website and buy a template for it. He literally went home one night and just grinded
Figured
at
it out, yeah.
and it looks amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to see some pictures of that. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of pictures, and if you want to edit them in, you can.
Nice.
It blows my mind. And like, yeah, Monday before they came and installed the set, or a week of like whatever, 9 days before. Like up until that point, there was nothing like but us and card tables in there, and then like it was just like nonstop after that.
Yeah. You know, you're doing things too that like you never think that you're gonna do. You know, painting, cutting carpet.
Oh,
like,
you do what you have to do when it's your business.
Yeah, to help with the sound.
Sometimes I clean toilets and wipe down windows and all that. I do what I got to do.
But it's weird, and I'm sure you know this. Like once you have ownership of it, it takes on like this sort of fun feeling, even though it really shouldn't be fun whatsoever. Like we're putting carpet in together. This is
yours.
business.
It's yours to build and to shape into what you want it to be, and that's completely up to you guys to turn it in. And I tell people all the time, man, like we do stuff nowadays in my business that I never imagined we would do when I started out. And I'm sure for y'all, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to get 5-10 years down the road, be like, I can't believe what we're doing, you know? And it's mind boggling to think about, but you just keep shaping it and making those decisions and you end up there. It's pretty awesome.
And I know like it won't stay in my garage. There may be an aspect to it that does because it's, you know, partially my business and I'll want to have that, but I know we're going to end up with like employees and we'll actually have to go get a real location. But this, at least right now, enables us to be nimble. And also too, like we have plans that like Dan's going to be able to broadcast from his house. So he doesn't have to drive an hour every day to get to my house. So, you know,
just live in your garage.
Yeah. Well, he like
I did for
he
a long time.
Kind of does, right?
Yeah. I mean, no, he's been on the sleeper sofa upstairs for like, he was there for at least a solid week. And like, the kids ask every day, is Dan spending the night?
Part of the family now.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
Chris, what's a piece of advice you would give to someone who's ready to give up their steady, stable career and chase a dream?
Oh man. Well, we're not successful yet. Although, I mean, I guess it's a success that we even exist. But like,
you've made that leap, though.
But you'll just know when you're ready for it. Like, because like I said, I didn't have any desire, but like I just reached the tipping point, and it was a combination of more money, more time with my family. You know, something that I thought was viable. I mean, you can't just go off and like make something up and like hope it works. I mean, I think you need a little bit of an idea. And there are like 10 other people that are doing this around the country. So we're not like alone. We have like a nice text group that you can bounce ideas off of one another. You know, and Dan on the side has been helping some other people, you know, because you're seeing this in particular with weather is like the weather people are like, you know what, I'm taking my toys and going to go play in my own sandbox. I don't need a television station to broadcast anymore. I can do this on my own. And so you're seeing that where people like me that have a little bit more name recognition in a market, because like, you know, if you don't have that, like I could go into a business or ask you like, Aaron, we would like some of your clients to advertise with us. You'd be like, you know, okay, you know, well, I know Chris, like, you know, you're giving me a little bit more credit, but like, if you're just like some weather geek that is trying to do this, like it's going to be a process. to like gain that trust. Not saying it can't happen, but like, do you have the money to outlast, you know, the money coming in from advertising? And so knowing that we're not alone kind of helped too, that like, oh, there's people doing this and they're making money. It's successful.
Yep.
So, you know, I think that is part of it too, is like making sure your business is viable. But man, if you have like a dream, but you'll just know.
Yeah.
Like I just knew that that the family was most important, and that even if I didn't do this, and just did real estate, I've done what I love for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm okay if it ended tomorrow, but I'm just grateful that like everything kind of came together, that like we're continuing it, or I'm continuing it thanks to, you know, Dan and just technology and time being right.
No, that's awesome.
That we can do this.
If you had to go back and give yourself a piece of advice, if you're starting this process over again, what would that be?
I think for us, like we can't get hung up on decisions anymore, because we did do that at first, you know, because you're playing with, you know, a lot of money, and you're not used to spending that kind of money. So you sit there and dwell on decisions for 3 or 4 weeks, and it's all sorts of different stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
always is.
I'm not going to say that like planning's a bad idea, but you know, the hardest part of like doing anything, whether it's your New Year's resolution of going to the gym or starting a business, is like starting. And we spun our wheels for a long time. And I think if we maybe don't spin our wheels in the future, we'll make progress.
Yeah. So many people get hung up on perfect, right? And perfect is overrated in my opinion. I think you make the most informed decisions you can, and you make the best decisions you can. And sometimes those are 80%, 90% confidence decisions, but you got to live with them. And that's part of being in business, is you just, like you said, you have to make decisions, and sometimes you got to make them quick.
Yeah.
And
we're both
it is almost never perfect.
Yeah. And Dan's not happy if he's, you know, if he doesn't win everything that he does.
Just in racing.
Well, but it carries on over to this stuff too, you know, and I'm a perfectionist too. Like there's a process for everything. And like, so we're both pretty type A type people.
Yep.
And I think you need some of that, you know, type B, that like it's not perfect. And like I think we're learning that though, because like we launched without an app and without our smart, you know, our phone apps or our smart TV apps. We launched without a website, you know, but I mean they're all coming, and it's okay. It wasn't a disaster.
I mean, this is our chance to ask you a question. Like, how do you take your hands off of everything?
Yeah.
That took me a long time to learn, right? And we're now to the point, like with my marketing company and the IT company, I'm pretty hands off on most of that. I still kind of give, you know, direction on strategy and stuff like that, but I had to learn to let it go.
It's hard.
And especially when you are type A and you want to make sure everything's perfect, finding people you can trust is the key to that. And I've been very fortunate. The people that work with me are brilliant and great at what they do. They work hard, and I think they care about it like I care about it, right? And when you can find people that care about things like you care about things, or even close to that, like if you're 80, 90% where they get it like you get it as the owner, then that's a great employee, right? And that's somebody who's going to take care of your clients. It's going to take care of the process. It's going to take care of the quality of what you do. I had to find those people. And now that I've found those people, you know, I support them and love on them as much as I can to like say, hey, you know, like you're killing it. They're so much better at what they do than I ever was, because I learned to trust people, and I trusted the right people.
It's good to know. Yeah. Because like right now it's like, well, why don't I just do it for everything?
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
It's hard to break it. And the only way you can grow is to trust people and to eventually give those pieces up, and then just keep stepping back. And so as opposed to you doing all the hands-on stuff, then you have people that are handling it, and you're kind of managing that. And then you let the managers handle that stuff, and then you keep stepping back, and you know, you grow and you grow and you grow to wherever you want to be, man. But that's y'all's call to do. So that's the beauty of it.
We'll learn.
So,
welcome
to business ownership, man. It's awesome though. I mean, like we talk to entrepreneurs all the time, and it just consumes every aspect of your life, right? Like you think about it 24/7. Like I dream about work stuff, right? And, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way, because it also gives me all the good stuff I have in life too. Time with my kids, and, you know, time where I get to enjoy my friends and the coworkers that I have, and I can shape it like I want to shape it. Y'all have seen my office. It's a fun space to be. It's a good place to be. It's where I want to be every day, right? And we get to decide that. So that's the beauty there.
How long did it take for you to get like your own space? Like, did you start? Like, where did you start?
I started in my house, just like y'all, and so I did that for 6-8 months. And I'm a kind of person, I can't turn it off. So when I would hear my email go off in the other room, I would run in there and go check the email and do that. And I did that 1,000 times a night. And I finally got to the point where I was like, man, I got to be able to have an office where I go to work, and then when I come home, and I shut it off a little bit. I am wired that way, man.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting next to the computer, I hear it ding, well, I'm jumping on it.
Oh yeah.
And so it was a decision I had to make. And, now I leave and I go to work, and I got a computer in my house that if I need to go do something, but I've had to learn that.
Yeah, I could tell, like, I'm living in the grace period with my wife right now, as far as like, she's allowing us to work till 11 o'clock at night, but I know that's not going to be sustainable per se. So we'll see how that ends up going. But definitely the good side and the downside of like the studio and everything being in my house is like you're there all the time. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to learn.
Yeah.
You got to learn to turn it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Where do you guys see yourselves being a year from now?
Oh man, I think hopefully a year from now we have employees and we're learning how to release control of different aspects of the business. And I think we'll start probably with releasing control of the things that maybe we don't like to do as much, or we're not as qualified to do, like accounting or invoices and stuff like that. And then social media too, I think, is a beast that maybe somebody that's younger than Chris and a little more into social media than me would probably do a pretty good job.
My wife is helping us right now, like just answering and responding to people's questions.
Yeah, and that's a key ingredient to y'all growing too.
If we
because the engagement you're going to get off your social platforms is really paramount to growing your audience that way. So that's pretty critical.
Just from a marketing standpoint, like not that it's free, but it's to a certain extent like. Yep. You're not having to spend a ton of money, but yet you're still getting your name out there.
Yep, for sure.
So
I think a year from now, like if we have 4 to 6 employees and are a healthy small business, and we see consistent month after month growth of viewership, followers, and hopefully like advertising revenue too, I will be able to sleep at night finally.
Yeah,
I think. And we have a pathway, like we know exactly how much we need to make to replace our TV salaries. Obviously the goal would be to do a little bit better than that, but like it's not like you look at the numbers and you're like, that's not like unrealistic.
No.
And and even if you do it, $100, $200 at a time with those small dollar things, they add up.
Yeah, it adds up. Yeah.
And
well, so I'm sure y'all have a good recipe for what you're doing, and there's so many opportunities to create that for yourself and beyond too. So I'm excited to see where you go with it.
Yeah, we're excited too, and I think like the future is what we are doing, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
That you're going to see more of this. I mean, you already see it with like sports.
Yep.
Like ESPN struggles because they're talking about like. They have to talk about like larger things. Well, if I want to know about Florida State, I just go to the Florida State website and I get all the Florida State information. Everything is hyper like what I want when I want it.
Yeah.
And if you want weather in Northwest Florida when you want it, that's us.
Yeah, you guys got it covered.
Yep.
No, it's awesome. And so I'm very excited for what you guys have been doing in the community through your careers as well as what you're doing now. And I can't wait to see what it evolves to, and we're going to be following the whole way. So
we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here today.
Yeah,
I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
And y'all, that wraps up another episode of The Road to Rich. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. Follow us online. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And until next time, keep chasing growth. Keep growing your community. And don't forget your umbrella while you're walking your own road to rich.